responsibility, Toastmaster Egena Elvis. A round of applause.
A leader. This singular phrase, whenever it's mentioned, brings up different images in our mind. For some people, it could be political leaders. For some, it could be religious leaders. For others, it could be their bosses in the office. While for some, it could be their parents or their school teachers. And this is rightfully so because we've been raised to think that these are the only leaders we have around us. But before you conclude on that thought, permit me to share with you my grandmother's perspective to who a leader is. Contest chair, fellow contestants, and leaders. I was blessed to be raised by one of the sweetest, most loving, gentle, and generous soul that ever lived in this world. My grandmother. As sweet as her soul was, her cane was the opposite. Very harsh. And she has a way of making you understand any lesson she wants you to learn without telling you anything. There were two experiences I had with her that altered my thinking about who a leader is forever. The first was when I was in primary 3 in my LEA primary school. On this particular day, I failed my favorite subject assignment, social studies. And my friend, Jude, out of excitement, had run home to flaunt his 5/5 before my grandmother and told her that I had 0/5. Not knowing that, he just officially launched my first baptism of fire. That day, I returned back home. Everything was normal. I started noticing strange signs after dinner. My grandmother, who doesn't usually have time for my assignment because of how busy she was, started asking me strange questions about my assignment on a Monday evening. That was when I knew something was up. After she used her cane and baptized me with excruciating pain that I had not experienced anything like up to that time, she said, never wait for anyone to do what you can do for yourself. How can you drop such an important lesson after you finish beating a child? Who does that? Obviously, I didn't get the lesson. I didn't get the memo. Few months after that, my LEA primary school had an inter-house sport competition, and I decided to participate in the 100-meter dash. At that time, I want to be the next Usain Bolt. I jogged very hard, trained, gave it all my all. Days turned into weeks, and finally, the due day came, the main competition day. I went there. I already visualized myself at the Olympics. And for some reason, I came third. Immediately this result was announced, I started crying. Crying because I could imagine what will happen to me when I get home and tell my grandmother that I came third. I thought of all the excuses I could give, but none seemed cogent enough. I finally decided to go through the fire again. Remember, the Bible says, when you go through the fire, I will be with you. So I made up my mind to go through the fire. When I got home, to my amazement, my grandmother prepared my favorite dish and served it to me as dinner. When it came to the point where she would usually draw her cane to flog, I noticed there was no sign. One part of me was happy that I've escaped this baptism today, but the other part of my mind was suspicious. Could it be that she was planning something worse than I had experienced? Out of curiosity, I had to ask her, Grandma, how come you didn't beat me for coming third? She laughed and she started walking towards where I was lying down on my bed. At that moment, my mind started telling me, here comes the beating of your life. She noticed how I was trembling and how frightened I was physically. So she gently walked down to where I was sitting down, put her hands on my shoulder, and said very softly, I don't care what your position was, so long as you give your best. Toastmasters and guests, she had transited to the yonder place several years ago, but this lesson stayed with me till today. According to her, a leader is one who is responsible. It doesn't matter what you do or how you do it, so long as you are responsible. This word sums up all the lessons she's been trying to teach me as a leader. Most times when we come out short or fail to do the things we're supposed to do, who do we blame? Is it the government, our bosses, or everyone else except us? 2023 is the election year in Nigeria. How many of us can say we have gotten our PVCs? Yeah, the number is low. As responsible people, one way you could show your responsibility is in participating in the civic activities that happens around you. True leadership is when you can lead yourself, because that's when you can lead others. In conclusion, very Toastmasters and guests, it's not enough to blame people. Anyone can do that. But it is more demanding when you hold yourself accountable without anybody supervising you. So I will leave you with the words of my grandmother again. She says, before you expect God or anyone to do anything for you, make sure you do what you're supposed to do. The contest chair.